Good evening, everyone. May I please request everyone to get settled? We will be starting shortly in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 15th Convocation of the Faculty of Architecture at CEPT University. This is also the first virtual convocation, and hopefully it stays as the only virtual convocation. A very warm welcome to the graduating students and their families, distinguished guests, members of the core and visiting faculty, and the staff at CEPT University. It has been a challenging past year, but this is a joyous moment. So let's celebrate the achievements of our graduating students and award winners. As we get started, I would like to request you all to please keep your cameras on, microphones off, and keep the Zoom setting on switch to active speaker mode. Now I would like to invite our Dean, Professor Anjali Yagnik, for the welcome address. Over to you, Professor Yagnik.
How to start the video as well. Stop my video, it says. It's not allowing me to do that.
Maybe it will take, that. Yes, now it's working fine.
Fine. Yeah, it's on. I need to get this thing off. Okay, yeah. So, good evening and welcome to Convocation 2021 at the Faculty of Architecture at CEPT University. And a very special welcome to our students, both undergraduate and postgraduate, who are convocating today. So graduation from professional schools and colleges in particular is a very significant rite of passage because you go from being a student to what is a fully fledged professional. And this day will probably remain a red letter day, an important day in your memories throughout your lives. I hope that your experience at CEPT has been comprehensive and valuable, both professionally and personally. And as I tend to reiterate repeatedly, what one takes away from an experience is to a large extent only as good as the interest, the enthusiasm, and the open-mindedness that one brings to this experience. So this, I feel this is particularly important to keep in mind when you start working in professional enterprises, as many of you will start doing very soon, with your inputs, large or small, which have a direct, tangible, and hopefully valuable impact on the real world. So I wish all of you the very best and hope that you find a good fit, as I have, in your future calling within the field of architecture, whether professional or academic, or preferably both. I would now like to introduce Professor Vasavada, our keynote speaker this evening, who is well known here and really needs no introduction at CEPT University. However, I would like to give our current students a brief and a quick idea of Professor Vasavada's journey and of his stature in our field. This may also give you, our convocating students, a sense of how careers in our field unfold, whether by design or otherwise, by virtue of serendipity or happy accident. So Professor Vasavada, just very briefly, Professor Vasavada started his career as an architect on a very high note at the Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad site office from 1969 to 1972, where he had the opportunity to work with Louis Kahn and with Anantaraje, who was the architect in charge of the site office for this project. In 1976, he started teaching at what was then the School of Architecture at CEPT. In 1979, Essay was given a grant by UNESCO to study the influence of culture on architectural expressions. As part of this, Professor Vasavada started documenting traditional housing in the old city of Ahmedabad and continued studying the old city even after the original monograph was submitted. Between 2007 and 2014, he formulated and directed a regular 2-year postgraduate course in conservation at CEPT. And of course, his efforts, along with those of his conservation students, to prepare a comprehensive dossier and to have Ahmedabad declared a World Heritage City by UNESCO in 2017, led to a crowning achievement, which is well recognized and which will be well remembered for a long time. At a personal level, Professor Vasavada was my studio tutor in semester 10 in 1979. And more importantly, he was my thesis guide and advisor in semester 12 in 1980. So I am especially delighted to have this honor of introducing him as our keynote speaker today. I would suggest that we keep our ears wide open and listen carefully to a talk that is likely to deal with timeless ideas and issues that have become uncommon over the years. So I would now like to request Professor Vasavada to address this gathering. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Dean, for your very kind introduction. And I also thank Madam Dean and the faculty to invite me for this. I would prefer to read my address in order to be precise and also to be time bound. Madam Dean, faculty and graduating students, it's a rare honor and pleasure for me to address all of you graduating students here this evening. It normally is a practice in institutions of learning to invite an external person for external person of eminence to address such an opening, such an event. And I'm afraid, you know, I must say that you know, normally this is practice learning to invite an external person of eminence to address such functions, who would share their wisdom with the graduating students when they are embarking on their careers. I'm afraid I'm neither external to CEPT nor an eminent person who have such wisdom there. However, having left the faculty some years ago, I simply accepted this kind invitation from the dean and happily agreed to be here in a different role to share with you some of my insights and observations, which perhaps might be of interest to you as you are at a juncture to begin your professional career very soon. At the outset, let me confess that none of what I say is in any way preaching, as I always believe in practice before preaching, and from that point of view, I will try to just narrate some of my earlier efforts to appreciate our great discipline in its larger context of learning and understanding. My sensibilities and understanding of architecture and its cultural context in our pan-Indian scene are developed with my own learnings from our modern thinkers and historian critics like Ananda Kumaraswamy and Sri Aurobindo Ghosh, along with the artists and teachers from Shantiniketan, who actually formed part of Faculty of Fine Arts in Baroda. They were our teachers. They taught us in our architecture course. I later, working with renowned architects like Khan, Otto, and Sir Bernard, gave an opportunity to appreciate the role of history and innovation in profession. All these helped in sharpening the consciousness and helped develop rigors in our discipline, which then became a guiding force in my appreciation of the finer aspects of profession vis-a-vis an architect's role. I will take some liberty in mentioning some of the insights from these thinkers, philosophers, and architects, which are important to share with you. This function today really makes me nostalgic. Being on this side of the audience, facing you all, eager to embark upon your career with huge expectations. Several decades ago, I was in your place there, receiving my degree and listening to the words of encouragement from one of India's greatest teachers, invoking us to build our character and conscience to face the realities of the world. His words, use your knowledge to gain wisdom, through its discrete application in the field, build your professional character with humility, moral and ethical base, and work for betterment of humanity at large. These words provided inspiration to me and enabled me to build myself as a professional. I pass on these words to you, remembering in dedication Dr. S. Radhakrishnan here this evening. These words of advice are timeless and have inspired generations. Architecture is a discipline of knowledge, enabled by individuals' creativity, requiring preparedness not only in terms of acquiring knowledge and ability for creative imagination for artistic work, but also to cultivate an individual's mind to appreciate finer sensibilities of cultural context and evolving traditions. It requires rigors to develop an intellect, to assimilate and synthesize historical learning, in order to creatively interpreting culturally relevant ideas. An architect, through his imagination, creating and theoretical understanding, conceptualizes ideas about buildings. He applies these in building art. Realizing a building as an end product is a circumstantial act. A team of professionals from other buildings, this teamwork translates an architect's ideas into reality. Architect's role in his practice is pivotal, but conditioned by this circumstantiality. In our efforts to understand architecture, it cannot be separated from art and sciences. I quote from Kumaraswamy, there is a close analogy between the aims of art and science. Descriptive science is, of course, concerned only with the record of appearances, but art and theoretical science have much in common. The imagination is required for both. Both illustrate that natural tendency to seek the one in unity, seek the one in the many, to formulate natural laws, which is expressed in the saying that the human mind functions naturally towards unity. The aim of the trained scientific or artistic imagination is to conceive, invent, or imagine some unifying truth previously unsuspected. Or the theory of evolution or of the rapid discovery by a mathematical genius of the answer to an abstruse calculation, the conception that flashes into the artist's mind, all these represent some true vision of the idea underlying phenomenal experience, some message from the exhaustless source of truth. Ideal art is thus rather spiritual discovery than a creation. It differs from science in its concern primarily with subjective things as they are for us, rather than in themselves. But both art and science have the common aim of unity, of formulating natural laws. These similar sentiments are expressed, when we were reading Sri Aurobindo's text, when we were actually, we were oriented to this. Form is only a means of expressing. I'm sorry, there was some interruption.
Yes, we are very sorry.
No.
Yes, please continue. Yes.
Can I? Thank you. Form is only a means of expressing the spirit, And the one thought of the artist should be how best to render the spiritual vision. He is most bound by the forms that compose the world of a gross matter, though he takes them as a starting point for his formal expression of the vision within him. If by modifying them or departing from them, he can reveal that vision more completely. His freedom and his duty as an artist emancipate him from the obligation of the mere recorder or a copyist. The ancient Asiatic artists were not incapable of producing outward nature with as perfect and vigorous an accuracy as the Europeans. But it was their ordinary method deliberately to suppress all that might hamper the expression of the spiritual truth. Indian art demand of the artist the power of communication with the soul of things, the search of spiritual precedence, uh, taking precedence of the sense of material beauty and fidelity to the deeper vision within. Of the lover of art demands the power to see the spirit in things, the openness of mind to follow a developing tradition, and the sattvic capacity of prejudgments luminously to the secret intention of picture and its patience to wait until a perfect, profound divination. The greatness of Indian art is the greatness of all Indian thought and achievement. It lies in the recognition of the persistent within the transient, of the domination of matter by the spirit, in subordination of the insistent appearance of prakriti to the inner reality, which in a thousand ways the mother wields even while she suggests. The European artist, combined with the narrow confines of the external, is dominated in imagination by the body of things and the claims of phenomenon. Western painting starts from the eye or the imagination. Its master word is either beauty or reality. And according as he is the slave of his eye or the playfellow of his imagination, the painter produces a photograph or a poem. But in painting, the European imagination seldom travels beyond the imaginative interpretation or variation of what the physical eye has seen. Imitation is the key word of creation according to Aristotle. Shakespeare advises the artist to hold up the mirror to nature, and the Greek scientist and the English poet reflect accurately the mind of Europe. We of today have been overpowered by the European tradition as interpreted by the English. We have therefore come to make on a picture the same demand as on a photograph. The reproduction of the thing as the eye to see it, not even as the retrospective mind or the imagination sees it. Exact resemblance to the beings or object we know, or if anything more, then a refinement on nature in the direction of greater picturesqueness and preciseness and the satisfaction of lower and more external sense of beauty. The concentration that art exists not to copy, but for the sake of a deeper truth and vision, and we must seek it in not the object, but God in the object, not things, but the soul of things, seems to have vanished for a while from the Indian consciousness. Now, this very idea of God in the object is also something which is uttered by modern architects, who have said, God is in the detail. Now, that is what Mies van der Rohe used to say. So this is, in terms of ideas, there is so much of, truth and, universality. that one sees, And this is why I am trying to state here that there is so much of commonness between approach to art and architecture. It is imperative for an architect to appreciate the connection between art, architecture, and theoretical sciences in order to function as an individual. This is the foundational need for him to make his contribution in the profession. Our tradition, coupled with its contemporary understanding in our immediate history, helps us appreciate these foundations, and this is where our learning never stops. The real predicament of our distant history, and in spite of that, the idea of Indian thought is well explained in the words of Kumar Swamy again. The extent remains of Indian art cover a period of more than 2000 years. During this time, many schools of thought have flourished and decayed. Invaders of many races have poured into India and contributed to the infinite variety of her intellectual resources. Countless dynasties have ruled and passed away. And so we do not wonder that many varieties of artistic expressions remain. To record for us in a language of their own something of the ideas and the ideals of many people. They faith and desire, but just as though all Indian schools of thought fundamental idealism of the classical text, so in all Indian art there is a unity that underlies all its bewildering varieties. This unifying principle is here also an idealism, and this must necessarily have been so. For the synthesis of Indian thought is one, not many. Thus, the practice of architecture in a complex profession, the architect has to continuously be aware of his roles and responsibilities and conditions created by the influential circumstances around him, which help realize his designs. The architectural profession has evolved out of such condition in historic times. Architects have always realized their works with high standards of excellence, capturing its relevant spirit in cultures across the world. The cultural influence are reflected in architecture, and it is a mirror image of the cultural context. Architects, being the constituent of a culture working in a particular context, produce works with analogous identity. The role of an architect is thus conditioned by the patronage he receives. His creative ability to design presupposes his abilities to define his larger goals as a creative individual in search of a relevant artistic expression. This is also his philosophical pursuit, anticipating his ability to search for his own validity through his rigors and works. Thus, the work of an architect reinterprets validities in a cultural context, culture-specific built environment, built spaces expressive of these validities have evocative quality. An architect's objectivity results from his understanding of these validities by appreciating, as Khan used to always express, the beginnings of man's institution. A foray in the study of volume 0 of history to rediscover the spirit and the root of institution where it all began. Khan also extremely deeply always spoke about the spirit of the place and spirit of space, because that was the basis of the. It is through this validity its spirit and attains universality in cultures in change. The concept are an architect's philosophical search and the premise for his creative imagination. But these sometimes get replaced by mere putting together of parts in an assemblage of building projected as design. Many times, pragmatic needs as requirements govern, and the desire, aspirations get subjugated under its pressure in a programmatic problem-solving exercise. The need to identify the beginnings of a particular institution of man and its nature gets substituted by what patrons or architects want. The building to be and not what the validities define the building to evoke. This is where the dilemma of an architect's role begins, and the work that he produces gets distanced from its validity. Thus, the result, as Khan used to say, that every building is not a work of architecture, and all those who build are not architects. This is the most important difference that we have to appreciate. As architects, we have to exercise our strength to uphold the roles as professionals and assure safeguarding our role and to maintain the dignity of the great discipline and the profession. Architecture is one of the most holistic disciplines of all. All of you who have been introduced to this great discipline during your years at the school must thank your stars for this. Also remember that your remember that grateful to all those who helped you and supported you throughout your life. Those you have your inherent skills and build your abilities as young pioneers of this great evolving profession, which is instrumental in shaping future human environment. You must ensure that your actions in future must never belittle this great discipline of architecture. Congratulations and best wishes to you all. Thank you so much. I think I am on my time.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Vasavada. I found it most uplifting, and at the same time, it also takes us back to our roots, you know. So, which was why at the beginning I kind of said that, you know, it's addressing a lot of issues, ideas that have not been addressed, let's say, over the last few years, you know. Things have changed a lot. And so, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I found it most uplifting, and I hope that everybody else, and I'm sure that everybody else would have enjoyed and appreciated it as much as I have. Thank you so much for taking me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
For doing
Thank
this
you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yagnik, for the warm welcome note. And thank you, Professor Vasavada, for the really amazing speech and especially reminding us on the role and importance of diverse Indian art in architecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We will first announce the award of proficiency. We will start with the Bachelor of Architecture program. Best Studio Performance Award for the second year. Priyanka Prashant Salunke. Best Studio Performance Award for third year. Chauhan Varisha Vijay. Best Studio Performance for the fifth year. Sharan GS. Moving on to the Academic Excellence Award for second year, Priyanka Prashant Salunke. For the third year, Chauhan Varisha Vijay. And the Academic Excellence Award for the 5th year, Roy Sanjana Shubhashish. Now, congratulations to your great achievements. May I please request all to unmute the microphone and give a round of applause. Next, we will announce the Award of Proficiency for Faculty of Architecture PG programs. We will start with the Best Studio Awards for MArch in Architectural Design. Best Studio Award, second semester, Dabewa Tanvi Rajesh. Best Studio Award, third semester, Dabewa Tanvi Rajesh. Best Foundation Studio Award, Ghazal Anil Nanwani. Next is the Best Studio Awards for MArch in Architectural History and Theory. Best Studio second semester, Geethu Gangadhar. For the third semester, Indrakanti Venkata Sai Shashank. And the Best Foundation Studio, M. Mallika. Next is the Best Studio Award for MArch in Conservation and Regeneration. For the second semester, Anushka Mittal. For the third semester, Panchali Satvika Satyanarayan. And for the Foundation Studio, Anagha L. And finally, the Best Studio Awards for the Master of Landscape Architecture program. For the second semester, Sanjana Bodas. Again for the second semester, Pratiksha Patil. For the third semester, Prasanna Mattiko. And for the Best Foundation Studio, Mabel Annie. And also P. Madhulika. Congratulations again to all your great achievements. Again, I will request all to unmute your microphone and give a round of applause. Moving forward to the conferment of degrees, we would start with the Bachelor of Architecture. Here, I would like to welcome Professor Sachin Soni to confer the Bachelor of Architecture degree to the graduating students. Over to you, Sachin.
Thank you, Chandrani. Welcome, everyone. So, the chairman and the members of the board of management of CEPT University on the nomination of Executive Council have conferred upon the following students the degree of Bachelors of Architecture. I think there's some technical error.
Please bear with us. We have some technical glitch. We're getting it fixed right away. Thank you.
I'm all right. I'm back. I'm really sorry for this. Once again, the chairman and the members of the board of management of CEPT University on the nomination of executive council have conferred upon the following students the degree of Bachelor of Architecture: Prajapati Neeraj, Harsh Parmar, Aishini Sheth, Hetanshi Patwa, Atul Bade, Akash Jain, Keshvi Ahir, Pratik Bagul, Harsh Bhimani, Charmi Shah, Sanjana Dalal, Payal Dodia, Kathan Kandevikar, Khushali Gelani, Himani Joshi, Karthik Subramaniam, Keshav Narayan, Devyakan Maisuria, Khushbu Makwana, Malika Gupta, Himadri Panchal, Durva Patel, Nirav Patel, Vishwa Patel, Shivani Prajapati, Surbi Ribadia, Riddhi Verma, Sanjana Roy, Dhwani Sehlati, Asta Shah, Nandini Shah, Riddhi Shah, Sharon GS, Richa Surti, Avni Suthar, Naitik Trivedi, Nirali Vaishnayan, Khemna Modi, Lisa Therese, Aditi Vajpayee, Juhi Sinha, Parth Prajapati, Anindya Raina, Miloni Modi, Shivani Patel, congratulations to everyone, and I would like you to unmute and give everyone a round of applause.
Thank you, Sachin. Moving on, I would like to welcome the Program Chair for Master of Architecture and Architectural Design, Professor Anjali Yagnik, to confer the degrees to the graduating students. Over to you, Professor Yagnik.
Thank you. Thanks, Chandrani. So the chairman and members of the Board of Management of CEPT University, on the nomination of the Executive Council, have conferred the degree of Master of Architecture in Architectural Design upon the following students. Abhishek Thakai, Bhatnagar Amish Hemant, Asijit Khan, B. Atira, Ayushi Sharma, Pulipandia Hari Krishna, Jayati Anand Kishore Mishra, Juan Carlos Tuso Gomez, Meghna M.R., Naveen L., Nimisha Varghese, Saxena Prakriti Pramil Shoma, V. Sai Kiran, Ashwata Chandran, Manu Sharma, Dodia Mishal Bharatbhai, Rawut Sadia, Ajaz, Roxana, Patel, Shaili, Sudhir, Valunj, Tejaswini, Bhagaji, Nanda, so congratulations to all of you. And I now request everyone to please unmute and give them a big round of applause. Anand, Tejaswini, Bhagaji, Nanda, backlog.
Thank you, Professor Yagnik.
Thank you, Chandrani. Now, the architectural design is
Yes.
open. Yeah.
No, may I please request, ma'am, you to continue?
Yes, for
Yes.
the doctoral program. Yeah.
For the master's program.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Sure. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So the chairman and members of the Board of Management of CEPT University, on the nomination of the Executive Council, have conferred the degree of Master of Architecture in Architectural Design upon the following student. Nishali Ranganathan. Surya is clapping. Okay. So I think, yes, I would now, congratulations, Nishali. And everyone, please unmute and give her a big round of applause. Nishali Ranganathan.
Thank you, Professor Yagnik. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you again, Professor Yagnik. Now I would like to welcome the program chair for Master of Landscape Architecture, Professor Sandeep Patil, to confer the degrees to the graduating students. Over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Chandrani. Good evening to everyone and welcome. The chairman and members of the Board of Management of the CEPT University, on the nomination of the Executive Council, have conferred upon the following students the degree of Master of Landscape Architecture. Nivedha G. Aishwarya Goel, Chandni Patel, Dhwani Pokar, Divya Mishra, Navyatha Tabjula, Harita Jani, Sankalpa Patel, Pooja Patil, Prachi Panwalkar, Sushmita Bhattacharya, Twinkle Elizabeth John, Vidisha Barwal, Paridhi Singhvi, Kritika Verma, Anugrah Kumar, Madhura Dasnurkar, Nimisha Londe, Priyanjana Bose, Rakesh Gandhi, Swarali Kulkarni, Tejwan Kaur, Vivin Shankar, Siddharth Ambalia, Kanika Sharma, Aarti Nagotkar. Congratulations to everyone. I now request you to please unmute yourself and give a big round of
Thank you, Sandeep. May I now welcome the Program Chair for Master of Architecture in Conservation and Regeneration, Professor Jigna Desai, to confer the degrees to the graduating student. Over to you, Jigna.
Thank you very much, Chandrani, and it is indeed my pleasure to announce these names. They're the first batch of the new program of Masters in Conservation and Regeneration. The chairman and members of the Board of Management of CEPT University on the nomination of the Executive Council have conferred upon the following students the degree of Master of Architecture, Conservation and Regeneration. Aishwarya Jain, Alhad Joshi. Alhad, I hope I got the J right. Ananya Das, Deepthi Varghese, Eshani Khandpur, Priya R, Rimita Bhoval, Sharvari Suryavanshi, Shreya Jain, Shruti K, Yash Gupta, Z.S. Pithawala, Juhi Bafna, and Nandini V. Congratulations to all of you. May I request everyone to unmute and give a huge round of applause to these graduating students.
Thank you, Professor Desai. Next, I would like to welcome the Program Chair for Master of Architecture in Architectural History and Theory, Professor Gauri Bharat, to confer the degrees to the graduating students. Over to you, Gauri.
Thank you, Chandrani, and really delighted to be sharing this moment with all of you. The chairman and the members of the Board of Management of CEPT University on the nomination of the Executive Council have conferred upon the following students the degree of Master of Architecture, Architectural History and Theory. Aishwarya Padmanabhan, Arushi Gopal, Eva Thomas, Prithvi Thakur, Roshni Kannan, Aishwarya Morwal, and Sparya Sharma. Many congratulations to all of you. I hope you guys go out and make history. Can I please request all of you to unmute yourselves and give a huge round of applause?
Nice one, Gauri ma'am.
Thank you, Gauri. May I request the Dean, Professor Anjali Yagnik, to confer the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Over to you, Professor Yagnik.
Thank you, Chandrani. So the chairman and members of the Board of Management of CEPT University, on the nomination of the Executive Council, have conferred the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Architecture to Rajan Rawal. Congratulations, Rajan. I now request everyone to please unmute and give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Chandrani.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Yagnik. Here we end the conferment of degrees. As we come towards the end of this event, I would like to express our gratitude to the distinguished guest, Professor Vasavada, for joining us in this very special moment. Thank you, sir. I would also like to thank all the graduating students and family, program chairs, colleagues, and all who have connected for this very special event. And a very special thanks to Professor Surya Kakani for joining today. He has been closely associated with this graduating batch as the previous Dean for the Faculty of Architecture. Thank you for joining, sir. I would also like to thank the admin office, to Shraddha Prajapati and Shivani Joshi, along with Purvi Nair and Devang Bhav sir, for their tireless work to make this event happen as smoothly as possible. Thanks to Nilosha Dave for her timely assistance in putting up the presentation. A very special thanks to Professor Meghalaria and Professor Sachin Soni for their guidance and support. Thanks to Hemant Sharma from the communications and the IT team. Finally, a very special thanks to Professor Divya Shah for coordinating this entire event from behind the scene. Thank you, Divya. Once again, on behalf of all my colleagues, heartiest congratulations to all the graduates and award winners. The university will follow up on when you will all receive the hard copy of your degree certificates. Now, since we are not in campus and there is no scope for a high tea, in order to cherish this amazing moment, we would like to take some group photos from the Zoom screen. I would request all of you to switch to gallery mode on Zoom screen, turn on the camera and unmute for a grand round of applause to the graduating students and award winners. Thank you so much. In order to cherish this amazing moment, we would like to take some photos.
No.
Please allow them to shout for at least 5 minutes.
Just a loud applause.
Come on. Please.
I think we also have the same thing. Like तुम में से कुछ लोगों को फर्स्ट ईयर में पढ़ाया था तो फिर बड़े काम हो गए.
Thank you.
It's so great to see all the faces.
Yes. Thank you very much. I hope that enough pictures have been taken. Thank you very much again. So we would like to close the event. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. And all the
Thank
best.
you, Professor Vasavada.
Congratulations. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh, there's
Congratulations
Deepa.
to
Hi,
everyone.
Deepa. Bye,
Congratulations to
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Hope
Bye,
to see you.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Hope to see you all after vaccination.
Stop.